Hi, this is Ofori, the digital reader, and these are the books that I bought and I read in October. But first, a quick note. I'm a big fan of BookBub. I've got a full video about it, but basically, BookBub sends daily emails with discounted ebooks from places like Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Apple Books, Google Play, and Kobo. This month, they had a ton of books I was actually interested in, so I grabbed quite a few. In my BookLife videos, any book I got through a BookBub deal will have a red tag, so even if I bought it elsewhere, you'll know it came from a BookBub recommendation. Now, here are the books I picked up in October. Battle at the River by Paul J. Bennett. The Norland Raiders are at it again. When the Baron of Bowden splits their defensive forces, Sergeant Gerald Matheson thinks that today is a day like any other. But then something is different. At the last moment, Gerald recognizes the warning signs, but they are outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and out of luck. How can they win this unbeatable battle? Battle at the River is a standalone short story set in the world of Mercia that incorporates characters from the Heir to the Crown series. If you like intense battle scenes and unexpected plot twists, then you will love Paul J. Bennett's tale of a soldier who thinks outside the box. Murder by Lamplight by Patrice McDonough. In November 1866, a brutal murder shocks London's East End. Among the onlookers is Dr. Julia Lewis, a calm, capable young woman and one of the few female doctors in England. Inspector Richard Tennant, leading the case, doubts her at first, but Julia is used to skepticism. After studying medicine in America because British schools barred women, she returned to help her grandfather during a cholera epidemic. Still, nothing has prepared her for this. A clergyman's body grotesquely mutilated and clearly chosen for personal reasons. When another link murder occurs, Tennant calls on Julia again. Soon the killer begins sending letters, mocking the police and leaving clues that lead through London's music halls, workhouses, and sewers. As Julia and Tennant work to uncover his motives, the investigation turns dangerously personal. The evidence suggests the murderer's next target will be Julia herself, and this is no mindless killer but a deliberate, intelligent adversary intent on completing his terrifying plan. The Gravedigger's Almanac by Oliver Pötzsch. Vienna, 1893. A gravedigger at the city's famous Central Cemetery, Augustine Rothmeyer is an unorthodox yet highly educated oddball who finds solace amongst the dead as well as in writing the pages of the first almanac of his profession. But his fragile peace is abruptly disturbed when young Inspector Leopold von Hersvelt, an ambitious young transfer from Graz, arrives in need of help from someone expert in death. No one knows the subject better than Augustine Rothmeyer. A superstitious killer is on the loose. His victims include several maids, each brutally staked. Recognizing the killer is using an ancient ritual for keeping the undead buried, the gravedigger joins the inspector on a journey that will take them deep into the underworld of their glamorous cosmopolitan city. In their search for a depraved monster, they receive unexpected help from telephone operator Julia Wolf, who impresses them with her unusual insight even as she fights her own personal demons. The Winter Goddess by Megan Barnard. Cailleach, goddess of winter, was not born to be a blight on humanity, but she became one. She would say with scorn that it was their own fault. Mortals are selfish, thoughtless, and destructive, bringing harm to each other and the earth without cause or qualms. One day, Cailleach goes too far. Thousands die lost to her brutal winter. In punishment, her mother Danu, queen of the gods, strips the goddess of her powers and sends Cailleach to earth to live and die as the mortals she despises, until she understands what it is to be one of them. Though determined to live in solitude, Cailleach finds that she cannot help but reach for the people she once held in such disdain. She loves and mourns in equal measure, and in opening herself to humanity, hears tales not meant for immortal ears, including a long-buried secret that will redefine what it means to be a god. Tusk Love by Thea Guanzon. As the daughter of an ambitious merchant, Guinevere's path has been predetermined. Marry into a noble house of the Dwendalian Empire, raise her family's station, and live quietly as a lordling's obedient wife. But Guinevere longs for a life unbounded by expectations, for freedom and passion and adventure. Those distant dreams become a sudden reality when her caravan is beset by bandits, leaving her guards slain and Guinevere stranded alone on the dangerous Amber Road. Her only chance of survival is to travel alongside Oscar, the aloof half-orc who saved her during the attack. Unlike Guinevere, Oscar's path is not set in stone. With his mother dead and his apprenticeship abandoned, all that's left is a long, lonely walk to a land he's never seen to find family he's never met. The last thing he needs is a spoiled waif like Guinevere slowing him down, even if the spark between them sizzles with promise. Despite his cold exterior, Oscar is brave and thoughtful and unlike anyone Guinevere has ever met. And while Guinevere may be sheltered, she brings out a softness in him that he has never dared to feel before. As the flames of their passion grow, they realize that soon they'll need to choose between their expected destinations or their blossoming romance. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. In a shabby house on a shabby street in the new capital of Madrid, Lucia Cotado uses scraps of magic to get through her days of endless toil as a scullion. But when her scheming mistress discovers the lump of a servant cowering in the kitchen is actually hiding a talent for little miracles, she demands Lucia use those gifts to improve the family's social position. What begins as simple amusement for the nobility takes a perilous turn when Lucia garners the notice of Antonio Perez, the disgraced secretary to Spain's king. Still reeling from the defeat of his armada, the king is desperate for any advantage in the war against England's heretic queen, and Perez will stop at nothing to gain the king's favor. Determined to seize one chance to better her fortunes, Lucia plunges into a world of seers and alchemists, holy men and hucksters, where the lines between magic, science, and fraud are never certain. But as her notoriety grows, so does the danger that her Jewish blood will doom her to the Inquisition's wrath. She will have to use every bit of her wit and will to survive, even if that means enlisting the help of Gaulin Santangel, an embittered, immortal familiar whose own secrets could prove deadly for them both. And now for the books I read in the month of October. Never Deal with a Dragon by Robert N. Charrette. Set in the gritty, high-tech future of the Shadowrun universe, this novel blends cyberpunk technology with ancient magic. The story follows a covert operative navigating a world ruled by megacorporations, mercenaries, and dragons who manipulate global politics. As humans, elves, orcs, and other metahumans coexist uneasily, the protagonist becomes entangled in a dangerous corporate mission that could alter the balance of power. The book explores identity, loyalty, and survival in a society where every favor has a price and trust is a rare commodity. If you're curious about the Shadowrun universe, this is the perfect place to start. It's not a long book, but it captures the world's feel really well and touches on a lot of key elements. I gave it 5 stars. It's an excellent introduction and a great way to see if Shadowrun's your thing. The Bootlegger's Daughter by Nadine Nettmann. It's 1927. Letty Hart's father is long gone, but his old winery provides a meager wage and a legal livelihood for selling Sacramento wine. But when the contract goes bust, Letty stumbles upon a desperate option, her father's hidden cellar and enough liquor to tempt Letty to bootleg the secret stash. In an underworld dominated by merciless men, Letty is building an empire. Officer Annabelle Foreman deserves to be the first female detective in the LAPD. But after 2 years on the force, she's still consigned to clerical work and policing dance halls. When Annabelle connects a series of unsolved murders to bootlegging, it's a chance at a real investigation. Under the thumb of dismissive male superiors, Annabelle is building her case. As their formerly uncompromised morals erode, Letty and Annabelle are on a collision course and determined to prove they're every bit as ruthless and strong-willed as the powers that be who want to take them down. I really enjoyed this story. It's got strong female characters and a great Prohibition-era setting. Seeing a female bootlegger and a female cop in that world was fascinating. If there's a sequel, I'd definitely read it. I gave this one 4 stars. Player Piano by Kurt Vonnegut. In a future America dominated by automation, machines perform nearly all labor, leaving most people without meaningful work. The protagonist, an engineer who helped build the system, begins questioning whether progress has gone too far. Vonnegut explores the human costs of technological efficiency and the loss of purpose in an overly mechanized world. The novel raises questions about class, value, and what it means to live a life that matters when society prizes productivity over humanity. A lot of authors write characters who feel aspirational, kind of how people should act. But Kurt Vonnegut captures how people actually think and act. You read his work and you go, yep, that's what somebody would really do. This book shows that strength, even though the plot and setting feel a little bit trash. It's not his best, but the honesty in his writing still shines through. I gave it 3 stars, as it shows a writer with future promise. H.E.R.O. Cyberhunt by H.E.R.O. Metro City faces escalating danger as the ruthless cybernetic Ironsight mercenaries continue their brutal hunt for escaped aliens, leaving a trail of bodies and forcing the city's heroes into a direct conflict. The criminal underworld also shifts when a minor thug working for the notorious Nightmonger is transformed into a symbiotic creature, granting him significant powers and granting a new unpredictable threat. In a parallel plot, a group of ordinary non-superpowered men join the ranks of the heroes. They must quickly adapt to the brutal reality of superhero life, facing immediate danger and a steep learning curve. The H.E.R.O series is a total guilty pleasure for me. They're like comic books in novel form. Bright costumes, wild adventures, and nothing too deep, just pure fun. I love how the first book starts with ordinary people getting powers and figuring out how to become heroes. They're not perfect, but for me, they're just a fun read. I gave it 4 stars. Medics Wild by Darrell Bain. Drawing from the author's own experience as an Air Force medic during the Vietnam era, this novel offers a comedic look at military life behind the front lines. Rather than focusing on combat, it explores the chaotic, absurd, and human moments that define service in a field hospital. Through humor, Bain describes the bonds, frustrations, and moral gray areas of those trying to stay sane amid constant unpredictability. This was a fun read, not deep or thought-provoking and a bit juvenile at times, but still really entertaining. It reminded me of the TV show MASH and how it looks at medics' lives, but this, of course, set in Vietnam. I'm not usually into war books, but I enjoyed this one and I gave it 4 stars. So to sum up all the books I bought and all the books I read, the books that I got this month, Battle at the River by Paul J. Bennett, Murder by Lamplight by Patrice McDonough, The Gravedigger's Almanac by Oliver Pötzsch, The Winter Goddess by Megan Barnard, Tusk Love by Thea Guanzon, and The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. And for the books I read this month, Never Deal with a Dragon by Robert N. Charrette, I gave that 5 stars. The Bootlegger's Daughter, a novel by Nadine Nettmann, I gave that 4 stars. Player Piano by Kurt Vonnegut, I gave that 3 stars. H.E.R.O. Cyberhunt by H.E.R.O, I gave that 4 stars. And Medics Wild by Darrell Bain, I gave that 4 stars also. So this is Ofori, the digital reader, and keep reading.